Hello, my name is Darren Chan, and I will be teaching you how to make a basic calculator in Python. So first off, we're going to start off with the user interface. This will let the user understand how to use the calculator and its functions. So it's going to just be basic print statements. So first I'm just going to call it calculator, then next I'm going to print out its functions. So the first one will be addition. The second one will be subtraction. The third one will be multiplication. And the fourth one will be division. So now whenever we run this program, in the output, it'll show basically all these functions of what we can do. Now we can get started on the variables, and this is also kind of related to the input. So we're going to start off with choice. So here we listen numbers here. So whatever number the user enters will be what function will occur. So choice is equal to input, and then we're going to type whatever we want the user to enter. So we're going to say enter the operation you want to perform. Okay, and then after we put input, it'll return a string, which is like a string that. So whenever the user enters in an input, it will return a value. However, this is a string, but we want to convert it to an integer or a single value or a whole number that does not have decimals. So we're going to encapsulate this with more parentheses. And then in the side, just put integer, so it'll be casting it. But you don't have to worry about that too much. And then second, we want our two numbers they want to perform functions on. So num1 is equal to input. We're going to be like, enter in your first number. And then it'll allow the user to input another value. Num2 equals input. Enter in your second number. So when we run this again, we'll see enter the operation you want to perform. This comes from there, so we have to enter in a value. So we can do 1 through 4. So we're going to just put 1. Enter in your first number, 3, 4. So now these numbers are stored in each value. So for choice, we will have 1. For num1, we have 3 that is stored. However, if you don't want this to show up in the same line, we can use this thing called an escape sequence. So I'm just doing /n/n/n. This just basically means creating a new line. You don't have to do this, but it's just optional. So again, if I run this again, it'll show up in the next line if you like that. So 1, 3, 4. Nothing happens. It's just more of how you want it to look to the user. So now we're going to work on our if-else statements. So first, we're going to start off with if choice equals 1. So if the user enters in 1, we want it to do addition. So click enter, it'll already create an indent. And then we're going to do print. And we're going to take num1, comma, that's our first variable, and then quotations to indicate it's a string, and then comma again, num2, comma again, is equal to, and then in parentheses, num1 plus num2. So over here is where our function's actually occurring. This is all for the user to see. But here is where num1 is actually being added with num2. So if we had these things here, we'd have 3 being added to 4. And then just putting num1 by itself, we'll put what the variable is holding. And I forgot to add here, but we want to make sure they convert these values into floats. So floats take in an integer value, so it won't just be whole numbers. So we can do more complex things like 2.5 or 5 divided by 2, which will give us 2.5, which is not an integer or a whole number. So we put float here, Okay, so now we have this first thing here, and then we want to create another elif. So elif basically just stands for else if. Okay, and then so choice is equal to 2. So if the choice is equal to 2, so if the user inputs 2, we wanted to do subtraction, so we could do print num1 comma minus num2 comma is equal to, and then we do our actual function of what we want, so num1 minus num2, and then we're done with subtraction. Add another else if statement. Choice is equal to 3. Then it will be doing multiplication. Oh, sorry. So if choice is equal to 3, then we will be doing multiplication. So now we create another print statement. So num1, and then multiplied by num2, comma, will give us num1, and then we use the asterisk sign for indicating multiplication, num2. So this is where all the actual functions occur, again, to clarify that. And then we'll create another final elif statement. Choice is equal to 4. Print num1 divided by num2 is equal to num1 divided by num2. Great, so now that we finished, we can try running it. So enter the operation you want to perform. So we want to do, I guess, subtraction. So the user would enter 2, enter, and it asks us to enter in our first number. So we can do like 10, enter your second number, we enter 5. Now it tells us our final thing, 10 minus 5 is equal to 5. So as you see, it printed out this. Now, something that could happen is what happens if our user enters in something like 6, and as we can see here, that's not in our else statement. So our program might not know what to do. So even though it continues, it will print out nothing because none of this matches because we did not have choice 6. So to prevent like that issue for occurring, we can do else if, no, just sorry. If we want, we can just do else. So if none of these conditions are met, so if none of the choices are equal to any of these 4 numbers, we can have it print, you may have, so we can have it print, you may have entered something wrong. Please try again. So again, if we don't want it to end something blank, if we run this again, and just say 7, you may have entered something wrong again. So and to make sure that your calculator is basically foolproof. And that's just how you make a calculator.